Justin, I know you spoke at PILMA, awesome conference down in New Orleans, and got some rave reviews on the topic of how Chat GPT, how AI can help law firms. Super hot topic right now in our industry. And thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the
Yeah,
time to share a little bit about what you've learned in this area. Uh,
yeah, man. I
tell us a
appreciate
little
it.
bit about it. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing and why you're doing it, and your background.
So, well, let me start with my background. I'm a personal injury lawyer down here in Myrtle Beach and Charleston, South Carolina. That's our two big markets. Um, and we've grown over the years, done several different things, and one of the ways we've done it is try to be ahead of technology before everybody else catches on.
Yeah.
So I think I was one of the first to get on LSAs. We weren't the first on TikTok, but we were there before it got saturated. Early on, I was one of the first in PPC. I really kind of taught myself how to do all these things. And so I'm always trying to think, how can we stay ahead of this tech game? And so when ChatGPT came out, in the mastermind groups I'm in one with PILMA, of course, and then a couple other non-legal masterminds. We just said, wow, this is going to be a game changer. And Ken saw me. I presented this to our 8-figure group in PILMA, and then Ken was like, "You've got to do this at the summit." And I,
Yeah.
I really did not want to do it, but
Why not? Why not?
I think the cat's out of the bag now, right? So we kind of just started. I did this presentation. Everybody was kind of wowed,
Yeah.
at all the different things you can do. I'm kind of surprised, man. I figured everybody would catch on to this quickly, but so many lawyers still don't understand this.
It's almost unbelievable. We just I had conversations with some of the attorneys at our office that are using it in different capacities, and it's almost unbelievable. You're like, does this really work? Can it really work that easily? Can you really use it for these things? And it's really only limited by your imagination. If you can think of a
100%.
way to incorporate it, you can come up with some really, really unique applications. And so you cutting edge from a technology standpoint, staying ahead of the curve, you're doing different things. Chat GPT comes across your desk. You become aware of it. How long ago? Was it a year ago? Was it 2 years
So we
ago?
started using it. Well, yeah, I think we started using it maybe Q4 last year,
Yeah.
right when it first started getting going. And, we're just playing around with it, messing around with it on the marketing side, man, because you can do so much stuff with the marketing side. And that's where I first saw the benefit. Didn't even think about getting into the legal world yet,
Hmm.
but it can save so much time on people, especially if you have a limited marketing budgets. You
Yeah.
can really exponentially just kill it with marketing. So we kind of started off on YouTube, right? So YouTube's such
Yeah.
a pain in the ass going on the back end work. And we had already laid a base with doing all the videos that I already do. And so, but you got to, optimize all those for SEO, make your TikToks, make your short form, get the SEO right so it ranks and people can see it. And, ChatGPT can help you find topics. I mean, it's so easy to brainstorm on there. It can give you the actual scripts so you can go off, just straight reading it. People who aren't good on camera or good off the cuff, I guess. But then most importantly, you can give you the tags for the
Yeah.
SEO. It can give you the descriptions. And so we kind of started there and just started going down this AI rabbit hole. And I
Yeah.
truly believe what you just said earlier is you are only limited to what you can imagine with this stuff.
Sure.
Uh,
And so you start off on the marketing side, and you talk about using it with YouTube and optimizing some of the videos. Tell us a little bit more about that, where you see these are tasks that was being done by one person, multiple people. Was it taking hours, and now that's been converted to
right.
minutes?
So it's something that takes hours, literally
Mhm.
hours. And everybody thought this was funny, but this is true. My 12-year-old son is running our YouTube channel now. That's
Yeah.
what we've got going on.
Yeah.
So where
Yeah.
I had to have a full-time employee, yeah,
Yeah.
full-time
Wow.
employee to do all the research and everything. I showed him how to do it, and he uses Chat GPT. He comes home from school. Now he's out for the summer. He'll
Right.
come home
Right.
from school and he'll just schedule everything out, and I show him how to do it. And
Yeah.
then I'll look over it, make sure there's nothing crazy that he puts in there. But
Yeah.
that's how easy it is.
Wow. Wow.
Um, and literally, there's no excuse for people not to now have a YouTube channel or have this content.
Hmm.
Um, Another thing that we do is there's several prompts that I've got built out, and I showed this at Pilma. People, this is what really wowed people.
Yeah.
You can literally build an unlimited, never-ending content calendar. with different topics, unique topics, right? Because we can all talk about, hey, what do you do after a car wreck, right? How many
Mhm.
times does the same person say that? But you can ask ChatGPT to literally make you a content calendar with all these different unique topics that you would never even think of, right? That might pop up with it'll pop up on it with working cases.
Yeah.
But when you're doing basic research and trying to put content out there, you're never going to think of these things. And so we use that now to shoot our content. It'll give us we like to do a lot of stuff off the cuff like this with our Justice Report podcast show that we do.
Mhm.
But you can then take those topics and those headlines, put them back into Chat GPT, and make your scripts. So people who don't even like doing video, there's no excuse anymore because you could literally read off a video and there you go.
Fantastic. So you're using it to, again, create content for the different advertising channels that you're using. And in talking to people that are using ChatGPT, they all go back to it's how you ask, right? It's how you create the prompts, and it's how
Oh yeah,
you. There's almost an art to extracting the data out of this endless resource, but you got to ask it the right questions.
right, absolutely. And figuring out those prompts and getting it all dialed in. I mean, that's kind of tricky at first, but once you do dial it in, I mean, it makes life so much easier. And I'm sure you heard in the news, CNBC, everybody, hey, prompt engineers, that's going to be the wave of the future. I got a hack for you. You can go to one is you can try to figure it out on your own, but that's still
Yeah.
time consuming. But you can go to this website, PromptBase,
Uh-huh.
PROMPTBASE.com. And literally, like, you can buy a prompt for like $2 that somebody's figured something out. And they've got a whole section for business. And then you just change a couple variables for legal.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's
You're
it.
done. You're
You're
in
done.
business. And so we've
And,
kind of done that, made our own, hacked that. And it's a great shortcut, man.
and so where else are you using it in the marketing world for what you're doing? Is it mainly some of these social mediums? Is it mainly content for uh, podcasts, or are there other things that you're using it for?
Yeah. So podcast backend, that's a pain in the ass. You got to get everything SEO'd. You got to get all the show notes right. You got to get your links right. Big game changer is ChatGPT can do all that for you. Right.
Hmm.
Same kind of scenario with the YouTube. You're doing that for your backend on your podcast. We're doing it with ebooks. So I mean, there's a whole industry within legal. They're charging us $10,000 to build an ebook. Right now,
Hmm.
you can literally have ChatGPT get your content. You personalize it, make sure you read it. Everything's ethically in compliance, and then you source it to a graphics guy to set it up. There's your
Hmm.
ebook.
Hmm.
We've done several ebooks that we do, and I believe in the lead magnet. Download the ebooks, and we push them drip campaigns.
Sure.
So that's the other issue. How do you come up with these drip campaigns? Well, now you can come up with personalized drip campaigns at scale with ChatGPT.
And so
And we're
walk
even
us through,
getting new.
yeah, walk us through that. If you're drip campaigns, these are clients that are potential clients that have reached out to you. You're providing them
Right.
with information, and then you're going, look, I want to stay in touch with them, and I'm having Chat GPT create the schedule by which I'm going to stay in touch with them.
Okay. So the problem in the past, I like to present this as a problem and then the solution. So the problem is, you might have a general PI client, right? And if people are not already doing this, they need to do this. You got to follow them up if you don't sign them on the first call, right?
Hmm.
So one of the ways you do it, phone call, text, but also email. So dripping them, and people probably have a general drip. Hey, the 7 things not to do before you settle your case, or whatever that may be over a week. And we would hire a copywriter, or I would write it. Then you have to build the drip so it triggers at certain points in time, and that's just a pain in the ass. It takes a lot of time. And what you'll do is you'll give up and just say, hey, this is our basic generic sequence. Well, with ChatGPT, you can say, what case type do I need? So a motorcycle case, a mesothelioma case, a new mass tort that comes out, a Kent Lejeune case. And you can have them, and we've done this, build out the drip sequences for us. And then it's just simply a matter of copy and pasting into your CRM. And so we use Law Ruler. And so
Hmm.
it triggers everything by case type, and they're getting a personalized to their situation drip following them around until they sign.
Right. So you're relying upon Chat GPT is saying, hey, the drip campaign you might want to use for a mesothelioma case is different than a motorcycle case, or different than a auto crash case, and based on that, here's what I recommend you do in terms of turning that potential case into a contract. Is that what it's
Absolutely.
doing?
And you
Yeah.
can give it and that's what you can tell it too. Hey, this the purpose of your drip. The purpose is to get them to sign to become a client.
Hmm.
And also add calls to action, right? So it's kind of informational, but ChatGPT knows all this and will trigger it out. I mean, literally in seconds, and you're ready to go.
Hmm.
And what used to take, hey, very expensive because you had to hire a copywriter, you had to hire somebody to put all this into your system, or you yourself as a lawyer thinking through this is now instant.
And so in lots of things, and especially technology, there's going to be a gap that evolves between those that get this and those that don't, right? And we're at the early stages of this. What do you see as happening to firms that don't embrace this into their, let's just stay with marketing for right now, that don't use this to leverage their marketing efforts in some shape or form? What does that look like a year from now, 2 years from now?
They're going to be destroyed. And
Hmm.
I think the SEO companies are going to be destroyed too. I mean, I think they're all really worried right now. So they're either going to double down and leverage that content and really help you grow content at scale big time at a cheaper price, right? Because a lot of times they hear personal injury and they try to really hit us
Sure.
hard, and we just can't afford that stuff. But literally now you can put with AI and Chat GPT, you can set up bots that will tell me every time Chad Dudley posts a new piece of content, Justin Lovely, I know my competitor, if we were competitors, I
Yeah.
can put up a competing piece within an hour.
Yeah.
And then you can never get ahead of me, right?
Hmm.
Now, if someone who's not doing that, the guy who is just going to destroy them with content. So I think the next question is, what's Google going to do once all this, it's already happening, right? All this AI content is flooding everywhere. What's Google going to do as far as rankings and everything like that? But if you're not using it at all, you're going to fall way behind big time. Not only
Hmm.
marketing, but I mean, all this other stuff we can talk about. I mean, with working cases and intake. I mean,
So let's talk about that. We briefly touched about, following up in a drip campaign to convert cases you want into cases that you sign. Are there other applications in the intake space that you see for Chat GPT?
so let me kind of switch modes here. Everybody, all these different companies are developing other software based off the open AI platform.
Hmm.
So people think AI and they want to say Chat GPT. So let me kind of take you away from that.
Hmm.
For intake, we found two solutions that are awesome,
Yeah.
and one is personalized video at scale.
Hmm.
So what would if Chad calls me and you're a car wreck client, you want to talk to Justin, maybe you talk to my intake specialist, but I'm unavailable. You don't want to pull the trigger and sign the fee agreement. My intake's got Chad Dudley's name, got Chad Dudley's cell phone and your email, and instantly my AI can put Chad's name with my voice saying, "Hey Chad, this is Justin. I'll be calling you back in 10 minutes."
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm doing with behuman.ai.
Hmm.
Okay. It's crazy. It's as simple as uploading a CSV file, changing the variable. So in this case, it would be the
Yeah.
first name, and it can trigger to automatically fire those out. So at the end of the day, I have intake. Everybody who we're chasing still, they're sending those uh, personalized videos out.
That's
So that's crazy,
fantastic.
right?
Incredible. Yeah. Crazy. Incredible.
Unbelievable. So that's behuman.ai. If you play around with it, or if your listeners play around with it, the mouth is kind of weird, but it's still it's good enough if they're on a cell phone, they're not going
Yeah.
to see it, right?
Sure.
And it clones your voice so they can hear it. It sounds just like me talking. So it's
Yeah.
crazy. The other application, I tested this, but I'm not using it because it's way more expensive. Tavis.ai,
Yeah.
Tavus, but that's some cool stuff. The other thing we do is I'm sending personalized thank you referrals with that. That's kind of getting away from intake, but I'm
Yeah.
people who are referring me cases. Instead of me shooting one generic video, I can send them hey Chad, thanks for sending me that case last month. Thanks for thinking of
Yeah.
me.
And the one
You
you
know,
mentioned, Tavis, is that just another variation of Be Human, or is that
it's yeah, same kind
something
of
else?
personalized video. It's just more expensive. It does have superior like video quality as far as seeing the mouth move, but they're
Sure.
all moving so fast. Be Human's only like $50 a month. I mean, it's nothing.
Wow.
That's great, and you can program all this stuff in. Um, but then at intake, uh, here's the problem, right? Think about. I think this is what really wowed people at the summit. You got a big case on the hook, right? And they're shopping,
Hmm.
so they're calling Chad, they're calling Justin, they're calling the next guy down the street, but they haven't pulled the trigger yet. they want to talk to me on the phone, or they want to talk to one of your lawyers or one of your mega intake closers. Okay. But you don't know anything about these people, right?
Yeah.
So a tool that I've been using is this thing called
Yeah.
crystalknows.com. Crystal Knows. Do you know Crystal? You know
Yes.
about that?
Familiar with it. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, do
Yeah.
you already know about it? Okay. So that will pull your, and a lot of salesmen, see, I'm in a different mastermind. That's how I figured this stuff
Uh,
out, non-legal. But a lot of salespeople will use Crystal, and it runs your disc profile. And so as long as they have a LinkedIn profile, I mean, you know what you can say or what not to say to possibly give you an edge to hook that case.
that's crazy. Crazy.
It also
Now,
helps you work in files too. If you have a defense lawyer that you don't
yeah.
know, right? You
Jury
know,
selection, possibly.
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
100%.
Fascinating. It's fascinating. So Crystal knows, and then Be Human, other platforms, and that's for the intake, and then personalizing maybe the thank yous for referrals, or maybe just connecting with a potential client. What other avenues are you seeing open AI or AI impact our industry?
Well, in our space, 100% is going to be the demands and the midcrons.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean that's I mean you've got what's that company Even Up,
Yes.
that's with value like what 250 million with their seed round or whatever. And then the minute that happens, Filevine releases their version that's supposed to come out soon.
Sure. Sure.
They try to
Yeah. Yeah.
crush that. But it's
Yeah.
simple. You can do this. You don't need all that. You can literally do that within ChatGPT.
Hmm.
And the trick to that is having your meds OCR'd. So as long as you have your meds OCR'd, you simply copy and paste, ask ChatGPT to summarize, and then ask ChatGPT to extract your CPT codes and your diagnosis and treatment codes. And then
Hmm.
there you go. You've got a head start on your Medcrons. So we started doing that, and that was saving so much time. Because I mean, it's a quick summarization. I got the codes. We're ready to go demands, and then you've got uh, instead of having to farm it out to a nurse, right? And then you got to wait to maybe like
Correct.
I take med mals and I'll farm them out, but we don't know until we get that Medcron back if we're even got a viable case. Now it takes your paralegal 30 minutes.
So literally dumping all the medical records, OCR them, taking the text file, pasting it into Chat GPT, telling it what you want, and it's spitting out workable demand packages.
Well,
Fantastic.
here's the trick. Here's what I found. The trick it's spitting out the Medcron. This is what people
Yeah.
need to understand as well.
Yeah.
You can't just say, "Hey, this is going to give me my demands." I mean,
Yeah.
that's not going to be good. It's going to create. It's going to hallucinate or whatever they call it, and you got to
Yeah.
make sure you're proofreading it.
Yeah.
It will save you a lot of time on the Medcrons, but then I think you still need the lawyer to really look at it, add that punitive damages paragraph,
Sure.
stick the time limit on there, run it with the bull style, and kick it out. But the real
Got it.
savings is that Medcron.
That's, and let's talk about some medical chronologies. And now I know that, look, we just did a podcast with, at our firm, one of the areas that we've just had attorneys experimenting with it is in the handling of the cases. If you can you get a hit list for your upcoming deposition if you tell it some of the facts? Do you get um, can it draft a pleading for you? Can it draft a complaint? Are you seeing attorneys go down these paths where they're getting these what they might have a legal assistant do or what they might have a paralegal do? They're using ChatGPT to get a working draft.
So here's how we've been doing it in our office. I've been kind of scared with as far as the complaints. It can generate complaints.
Mhm.
I don't want my lawyers to get lazy there.
Yeah.
Because I mean, literally, there was a guy who just got sanctioned. What was it? It was in the legal news a couple weeks, maybe last week, who
Mhm.
didn't proofread a Chat GPT and he admitted to it. He's getting sanctioned by I think it's up in New York.
Oh yeah.
So
And
I do
don't
not
don't
want
you,
my lawyers getting lazy there.
and don't you? I mean, that's gonna happen. It's I can't. It's got to start happening more and more. I mean, with all the attorneys out there, with all the the craziness, where it's going to get interesting, especially on the defense side, where they're getting paid by the hour to draft these things, and now they can use Chat GPT to crank it out. And do they
You're
just do it till they get called on it?
100%. You're gonna. I mean, they're already abusing discovery anyway, right? They're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
they're gonna keep driving the price down, paying these defense firms less and less, making them rely on AI, and we're going to need to be able to go through it as a plaintiff's lawyer and
Yeah.
hold their feet to the fire, maybe litigate some more, realize they're going to drag it out to the end, not really do anything. I see a bunch of motions to compel to be filed, right? We've got to file that, ask for sanctions if they start doing this bullshit. But that's
Yeah.
definitely going to happen. I mean, when everybody went to flat fees, it's already happening now with that. And you still have humans working it. When they add AI and pay them even less, that's going to be a nightmare. Um, but no,
Eh,
to answer your question, like answering like we fed in like transcripts and say, hey, what questions can we summarize out of these deposition transcripts? So we have
that,
done
that,
that.
that's what I was going to ask, is summarization of depositions. You guys are using it for that?
Yeah, it's good at that. It's good at that.
Mhm.
But as far as saying, hey, here are the facts, draft me a complaint. No, 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 no. I don't like that yet. I think maybe we'll get there, but that just scares me.
Now, what concerns or things do we need to be aware of as attorneys in this space? And what I mean by that is, if you submit data or information to ChatGPT or some of these other
Right.
platforms,
That's
does it
another good
become
point.
part of the collective? It's now owned by those platforms, and have we just given away our clients' information or something personal, our clients' medical information to?
Right. You got to worry about that. And so we're making sure we're not putting any like no names, no social security numbers. If they get a birthday in there, that's fine. But generally, you can skip down within a medical record and there's still a copy and paste process. So there's still a little bit of manual work you still have to do, but it'll still save so much time. But no,
Yeah,
that's a great point. You do not want to be feeding personal information into the algorithm, and then I mean somebody's going to get popped for that. I don't want it to be me, right?
sure.
Somebody somewhere, it's going to hit the fan.
And so what you're saying is that when you're OCRing and pulling in medical record data on your end, you have to be careful that when you're not just control all, copy
Right.
everything and dump it in there. You're actually pulling in and making sure you don't pull in personal information. You're
Correct.
copying sections, and you got to be very, very careful,
Correction.
right?
Yeah. And the good thing about ChatGPT is it's got character limits anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad it kind of caught me when I was playing around with it, because I would, hey, let's take a whole file and see it. And it would say, hey, you have character limits. And then you got to realize, hey, let's just take these day by day, treatment date by treatment date, which is what your nurse is going to do anyway, right? When they're making a
Right.
medcron, they're going to
Yeah.
go through it, treatment date by treatment date. But instead of having to read it and write it out and then type it up, I mean, literally, you can just feed it and ask it to run its do its thing with the OCR data.
Yeah. And what is the logistics of? I mean, so are you guys actively using that process at your firm right now, where
Oh
you're
yeah,
using
yeah,
and
I got. We paid $20 for everybody to have the plus, the
yeah.
ChatGPT Plus. It's $20, right? If you don't have $20, call me. I'll loan y'all $20. But no, yeah, we've got that, so they can use it, and then they're logging in from a company account, so the Justice's Lovely account, and then we have the Crystal knows. We use Crystal with my lawyers, and then my intake team, and the Be Human and all that kind of stuff is coming through the marketing side.
Sure. And what was it like to train? Like, how was it received by your team? And it sounds like you've worked with other firms to help them adopt some of these practices in their firm. How is it being received by our industry?
Well, it's like everything. It's change management, right? Everybody hates change, um, and especially your paralegals are going to be, and your attorneys. They're going to be like, "Whoa!" They sit
Yeah.
there really. They're literally speechless when they see what this stuff can do. Um, they think they're going to be. They're thinking what everybody else is thinking. They're going to be replaced.
Yeah.
But the way I always present this is, no, it's making you more productive, more valuable to the firm, and you can do more
Mhm.
work.
Yeah.
Okay. So we all had this problem with COVID, right? We couldn't hire people. Everybody's still trying to grow. We couldn't hire people. We got all,
Yeah.
paralegals wanting $100,000. I mean, who can do that? 150,000. You can't find attorneys. So what everybody do? Everybody rushed to these virtual teams outside of or offshore. I've got one in the Philippines. I've got one in Mexico. So now you can make them little super teams too. So you can have them doing all these tasks with AI.
Yeah.
You can have your core team here in your, wherever you practice, basically being little mini leaders. And
Yeah.
so that's what I'm trying to create. And it's working well so far, as a little hierarchy of, main paralegals pushing things out. They were already pushing out non-client facing tasks to my offshore teams. And now they're
Sure.
leveraging AI to do stuff here and stuff there. So it's great.
Incredible and pretty amazing. And let me ask you this now: one of the spaces that you're like, okay, AI and marketing attribution and processing data of how clients get to us, and that's been one thought that will that be a spot that AI hits our industry because that's always been a tricky thing, right? And we have clients that often do many things. They might see a billboard, then see a TV commercial, hear us on the radio, uh, get an email blast, talk to a friend, and there's all these different ways. Do you see it impacting attribution, or is that still down the road?
I think it's down the road,
Yeah.
but it's happening right now. I read an article this morning from Microsoft and Bing, and they were saying that in their reports now with their pay per click, because they're using Chat GPT, is they're going to be able to give you a report where the different touch points were until you finally made that sale or hooked that client. So Google's going to be coming out with all that. You're obviously always going to have your intake team asking questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Manually, a way to do this is if you're tracking your phone calls, of course, you can pull your phone call reports. And then we're using Chat GPT. We're using Sheet GPT, which basically
Mm-hmm.
is an Excel plugin for Chat GPT to reconcile and take away a lot of that manual effort to say, hey, here's all these phone numbers that called me from the Myrtle Beach pay-per-click campaign.
Yeah.
Here's a list of the clients. Is this data right? This is what our intake says. Hit us. And of course, you might get somebody says, "Hey, I saw you on TV." Well, we'll look and say, what do we think was the last click, and then we'll kind of make a note there. But I don't think that's ever going to be perfect, especially with like
Yeah.
somebody like your firm, killing it with a big brand campaign in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're always going to have brand, and you're right. What made them finally pick up the phone?
Yeah.
I think we'll get better data, but you're going to have that direct response and that brand, and kind of reconcile that internally as yourself.
Right. A bit of the mix of the art and science of generating
Yeah.
business, right?
Right. Right.
What other areas? I know that again, you've been talking to a lot of law firms about how different ways that you're applying it. We talked about marketing, we talked about intake, we talked about some uh, handling of the files. What other areas do you see are it impacting our industry?
Training.
Hmm.
So at least what we're doing is we've built training videos, policy and procedure manuals, everything, and we've got them on the thinkific.com platform, right? So it already tests them as they complete modules.
Uh-huh.
But the struggle you have, obviously, is you train somebody one time, they get done with it, and then you think they know they know it, right? And then they're working.
Hmm.
Maybe they're struggling with stacking. What is stack? I have no idea what this means. They're getting everything wrong.
Hmm.
Well, we're plugging those struggles back into Chat GPT and saying, Chat GPT, create me a quiz
Hmm.
based off this data. So we're copying and pasting our modules back into Chat GPT, and it's given personalized quizzes, which we can then give back to the employee, right? And then if they still don't
Hmm.
get it, bye bye. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Sure.
So
Sure.
but you can tailor the education to them because everybody learns in different ways, and uh, they may not get it the first time, and everybody has to be retrained, and that saves time from hey Justin, go sit with this paralegal. Hey Justin, go sit with this lawyer, or hey master paralegal, go sit with the new ones. So I think that's going to help. Um, Finances, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing, I mean, I know you're a data guy. I'm a data guy too. So when you're going through, we spend a lot of time in Excel. We want to see dashboards.
Hmm.
Um, you're seeing all these companies pop up with pulling your data and using AI to instantly create these beautiful dashboards so we can visually see, what's happening with our money, what's happening with our intake. I really see that kicking off. I think a lot of legal software companies are being created right now. And like when we go to these conferences that we've all been to in the last couple of months, this time next year, totally different
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. And yeah, no, you see it happening, and look, I see it just in firms that they're leveraging different, uh, different things in our industry, whether it's offshore workers, whether it's remote workers, whether it's, but AI is going to, it's on the rise, right? And like you said, tasks that might take, 2 or 3 hours before this tool is available, now taking less than an hour. and the capacity of what one person can handle, not to the point of exhaustion or
Right.
revolt, but to the point of, hey, in an 8 hour day, they can do this instead of this. I think we see that happening pretty aggressively right now, and the haves and have nots. It's going to be different. And if you're saving costs on labor ratios because you're more efficient, I'm seeing firms put those dollars sometimes into advertising, right, or
Mm-hmm.
case acquisition in a much more responsible way,
Oh yeah.
and so they just have more dollars to compete, and it's the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer, right?
100%. It'll also give young bucks, little solo guys, if they've got a lot
Yeah,
of time on their hands and they can harness this AI stuff, they're going to be ahead of the game and they'll be able to really grow a firm fast, I think.
no, absolutely, and I think you're seeing it. You saw that on the acquisition side to some degree, where you know 10 years ago, maybe the only way to get a strong brand would be through sort of the heavy dollar channels, TV or billboards or radio, and you're spending some serious dollars. You've seen firms rise up through less expensive models, whether it's through social, whether it's through other platforms that are economically viable. And I think you're right. I think it's a huge opportunity for guys that want to get started in this industry to get going at a pretty economical rate.
And I can tell you this: if somebody knew AI and they wanted to be an associate for me, and I knew
Yeah,
they could do that, I mean, boom, they're going to the top of the list. I mean, at least for
yeah,
consideration. You know what I mean?
sure, sure. And you know, the interesting thing. So this is what's happening in the industry. How long before it trickles down to law schools? And you mentioned, someone's coming out of law school and they know how to use this stuff, how to do this stuff.
Yeah,
That's something that you would look at. The law schools probably won't get there for a couple years.
yeah, of course. In South
Yeah.
Carolina, they'll be last, so I'm way behind. I guess I'm number one here. But no, and you hear, I mean, in education, man, I mean, our schools should be, I mean, this isn't going away. I mean, AI is
Yeah.
here, man. So they should be, you hear of schools banning it for, middle schools. I mean, I think my child's school banned it on their iPads or whatever, but the kids
Even
are
though
already using it.
even though he's leaving school to go to a
Right.
job
Yeah,
where that's
exactly.
yeah,
Uh, so they should be teaching kids how to use this
sure,
stuff, right? I mean, this should
sure.
be part of the curriculum, and maybe it is. Maybe they got to figure it out this summer before school starts back. But um, it's wild,
Well,
man.
if you were talk talk about some dangers or maybe some mistakes that either you've made or you've seen made trying to go down these paths, like are there things to stay away from? We mentioned, hey, be careful about having it right, draft your complaints. Are there other areas that you said, look, we tried this out, just be careful?
Yeah. So, like you said, don't give away any personal information. Of course,
Yeah,
you don't
yeah,
want those lawsuits. You don't want to be the first guy. Always proofread because it does kick out some weird stuff sometimes. The
yeah,
more you train your account for what you're wanting it to do, the better and better it gets. But if you think you can go in there and hey, Justin's going to give me 10 prompts, and then it just kicks out all this stuff, and you just copy and paste, that's a big no no. Do not do that
yeah,
because you're going to get in trouble. Either with the bar or with a judge or both or with copyright, plagiarism or something. Because you never, y'all, that's another thing. If you're going to use it for content, which it's great for, run your content back through a plagiarism checker. And there's several
yeah.
of those.
I,
Grammarly has one.
I was
You
going
know,
to ask you about that. Going, okay, if we both go to ChatGPT and give it the same prompts for content, is it going to crank out the same stuff for me as it will for you? And if so, how do we reconcile that at the plagiarism level or at the duplicate content level?
right. So you use a plagiarism checker, and then you need to always write. Here's a tip. Always write unique. The word unique. If you write unique, it'll constantly give you things different. But you're
Mm,
right. If you just say, "Hey, write a personal injury blog," enter, it's probably going to give me the same thing it gives Chad.
yeah,
If you use the word unique in your prompts, it's going to give you something different. Now, is that going to be 100% all the time? Well, no. Read through it, make a couple changes, throw it through one of those checkers. 99% of the time, you're going to be good to go. Another thing I would say is don't be overwhelmed with once you start going down this, it's a rabbit hole, man,
sure,
and
sure.
it is moving fast. Literally, since I gave that speech, that presentation, I mean, I'm already playing around with probably 20 other tools, and 99% of them are like, that's not working. But
Yeah.
when I find the one thing, that's great, right? And I think there's going to be, I think that's going to keep going on maybe for the next 6 months to a year. And then there's going to be like maybe a big consolidation of all these tools. You know, who's going to win, right? Is it going to be
Sure.
Google and all theirs? Is it going to be ChatGPT? Is it going to be Bing? I mean, who's it going to be? And then all these little software developers, they're going to start buying each other up once they got, they're building their little, their revenue programs and everything. So I think there'll be all this, and there'll be some consolidation, just like there is in anything. But the thing I would say is get started, get you an AI tech stack, get something going. Don't get left behind. Educate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Join a mastermind. Listen to your podcast, like listen to this podcast, and either get started or going to get left behind. And you're going to get left behind fast, man.
Well, thank you for really, really great stuff, and you're doing some amazing things. And like I said, the feedback from your presentation at Pilma was that it blew many people's minds, and that's why we wanted to get you here on this podcast. So, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. We need to do one where I do some live demos, and that's really wow. We didn't even talk
Let's
about voice clones.
well, let's talk about that. What
You
else
you gonna keep going?
yeah,
No, I was going to say.
tell us
So
more.
you can do these voice clones, right? Now, this is the
Yeah,
scary part. I guess it's kind of answering your last question, right?
yeah.
So, cloning an attorney's voice. I mean, that's wild. So you got 11 labs, and you've got Descript, where literally you can edit. It'll clone your voice, and then you can edit a video as simply as copy and pasting through the transcript, changing words, taking out your ums, taking out your ahs. And everybody should use that. It's very inexpensive. Descript. 11 labs, you can 100% clone your voice and you can make a podcast just off, and it's got inflection. Wow.
That's crazy.
But the thing that we've been doing with it is with our Hispanic marketing, we've got our Abogado Lovely brand. And, instead of me having to reshoot everything speaking Spanish, there's these AI tools that will take my Tennessee redneck accent and translate in real time my voice in Spanish and
That's crazy.
overdub my YouTube videos. It's crazy, man.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So, and that's just going to keep. Eventually,
Yeah.
we're going to be setting this up just avatars, you talking and me talking. So who knows where it's going?
Well, it is fascinating. And yes, I do want to get you back on the podcast and do some demos. And again, it's a hot topic, and I think you either get on board or get left behind. And so, I'm sure we're gonna get a lot of requests to have those demonstrations and have you back.
Let's do it, man. I
Thanks,
appreciate
Chris.
it. Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Anytime.